It's a $10 trillion global issue.
World, that's how big this is.
That's how big it is.
No one talks about it because no one wants to know that.
It's literally that size of a problem. Freight fraud is certainly a component of cybersecurity. I relate that because they're getting data, unless they're literally just hijacking a truck on the road. But
Freight fraud is
double brokering, acting as a carrier, showing up with a truck that's not theirs and stealing a load. Because cybercrime is credit card theft, people getting your information and using it for nefarious purposes. You know, they'll clean your bank account out, so they'll get hacked and they'll get ransomware, so you'll have to pay them off. Or you'll get the FBI in, or you don't, and then you don't get access back to your database. I mean, it's absolutely happening.
with this new AI world and like companies becoming very media marketing and us, the only way to stand out now versus AI is to be human. And that means, and with cameras everywhere, mics everywhere, it's just like another, the old saying, God's always the old saying this, God's always, the heavens are always watching, right? Now the cameras are always, the mics are, and so just be a damn good person. It's the best business strategy.
Be good to people.
Be good to people.
Be good to people, and you don't have much to worry about. So just always be good to people. Be honest, be true. You know, that's what I think is important. If you do that, then you know you're gonna be fine. So do things with intent and with purpose, and you'll have a good foundation to work from. So
I think it's very important to note, though, like we are human. Like you're going to screw up. You screwed up. I screwed up. Maybe not you, but
I've made the biggest screw ups.
so knowing that is a part of that. I feel
That's like the perfect time to screw up.
you do have to own it, and that's I think what is one of the differences with people that kind of have that fall from grace and those that don't is like, listen, like a lot of people can screw up, and if you don't own it, Robert Downey Jr. is a great example of that.
Yeah.
Like what a resurrection of a career, right? Where you've got one of the hottest young actors, that dude screwed up. And then you have, at the same vein, you've also got Charlie Sheen, who very similar. Certainly there was a resurrection, but it was very different. Versus Robert Downey Jr. is still one of those bankable, marketable stars in the world. And what did he do? He owned everything. You know, he's all the stuff I did. I did all that crap, and I like that.
I love that, Bane. There's this like wise Turkish philosopher from back in the day named Rumi, and he says, "You've seen my descent. Now watch my rise." And that's like a little poem that he says that I think speaks to what you just mentioned.
100%.
Anywho, getting like tactical and like business tactical, we mentioned Brent Norsuga, the phone call, and how Brent's crushing it and how he's able to talk to the camera. But Paul, when I was on the call with Paul mentioned that Tom, you would love him because he's at 4 a.m. He's hitting the gym at 4 a.m. and he's not out late, also not working.
Right.
And I'm like, whoa, that gives me some confidence that maybe I'm not doing the wrong decision by not necessarily doing that relationship building networking at those hours.
Today's podcast is also brought to you by Cargado. Cargado is the only invite-only load board for cross-border freight. If you're moving freight to and from Mexico and you aren't using Cargado to accelerate your growth, you're missing out. To learn more, go to cargado.com.
There's a lot of people that are like that, though. So and you gotta make your own path and build your own way. There's no wrong decision. I mean, this man next to me makes that choice, and sometimes he doesn't make that choice, but it's true. Who chooses to tap last night was one of those choices, you know, and he started a day early, you know, and that's great. So sometimes I do that too, but you know, everybody makes their own choice, and there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. And you respect anybody for where I know plenty of people that do that, and there's nothing wrong with that at all. So sometimes the business that happens after hours is actually not worth doing.
Sometimes the business that happens after hours is not worth doing.
Correct.
Right. It's a waste of time in some cases. I would say 8 out of 10 times.
Yeah,
it's probably that way.
Okay.
And so there's this inflection point when you look at, are you going to go do these after hours events? And then there's the after hour event, and then there's the after hour event.
Yep. Yep.
So you really have to look at what's the effectiveness of going and networking after the after parties at conferences and whatnot. So limiting those and ensuring that you are going to get out of that what you're looking to get out of it. So with any conference at all, and I've said this a million times, you have to come in with a plan. You have to come in with an idea of what you're trying to get out of it. I mean, a manifest is not something you want to take lightly. You have to come in with a idea of, I need to learn 5 things. I want to network with these 5 people, not 500. If you want to meet 500 people, you're going to fail. If you want to meet 5 people, who are those 5 people and why you want to meet them and what are you trying to achieve, and then go in with intent and target those people, make it happen, get it done. You'll probably exceed that. You'll meet some people you never possibly thought. Last night at dinner, we right next to me, Maria and I are both from Minnesota. I found a neighbor, so she lives in Maria found her, but she lives in Rosemont, Minnesota. I live in Lakeville, Minnesota. Lakeville and Rosemont are bordering companies and
Neighborhoods.
bordering towns, yeah. And we had a great conversation with her, learned a lot about her business, and there's some things that GLCS could potentially help them do in the supply chain, and who would have thought that would have ever come about. So
it's almost like a little bit of like a reward for planning, preparing, doing, probably achieving 90% of what you set up to do, and then the world kind of rewards you, like, here's a little boom.
Absolutely. 100%.
It's wild.
You come into these and you have the meetings, say you do all that stuff. You also think about this. A lot of us will go into any situation and you put pressure on yourself. Like, I need to perform. We're in this performance-based, society and economy. And we go to these events and we do the first few things. One, you're a little more confident. I've already accomplished a couple of things. I've targeted these people. That actually sounds terrible. You can say that like that, but
I've targeted these people.
Yes. Yeah.
You're a hunter.
Exactly. And you're right. You're much more relaxed and it flows significantly better. Those pre-planned meetings are so important because you can go, you execute, and then the unplanned ones that is within your schedule, within the boundaries you want to set. I think you alluded to this, and I was thinking about this. So as we were preparing for this conference, setting boundaries at conferences is so important. Coming to these and to have some fun, to understand, learn new things, all is very important. But also, you have to set boundaries for yourself because it is very easy. I mean, we're in Las Vegas, we're in Sin City. It is very easy from the sin to take you. So you have to set those boundaries and decide, here's what I'm going to do. If I'm going to turn out in front of tear loose, here's when I'm going to do it, and I'm not going to stray from that. Take some discipline. It takes planning, but doing that, one, you feel better about yourself. You're right. The universe rewards you, and also, like, you don't necessarily damage the brand you may be building because there's always opportunity for that.
Yeah, phenomenal. That is gold. So tips for young people, young brokers, people growing companies, new people that are entering the industry. Maria, on the way up, we were talking about how this is your third?
My third conference, but the first 2 I went to were significantly smaller. So this is my first bigger one.
Okay, cool. And so what are some tips that you've noticed as you've been aiding? Because how'd you tell me about the team, this trio that you guys are. Like, you guys have built this team, can come together, a year and a half ago?
So GLCS is 9 years old.
GLCS, yes.
So Maria came on board. Well, I'll let Maria.
Sure. I came on board almost a year ago. So primarily initially supporting Nate in the admin capacity. It's grown quite a bit since then. I help with our freight movement events, and I do come along to some of the conferences depending on the needs of the conference to be here, and it's worked great at this one. I was going to go into that next, so I'll wait on my next thought, but just to be a support system for not only Nate, but Bane as well, or whoever on our team needs to as well. They're here.
Yeah, I noticed that. I met you guys right around when Maria joined the team, and I was in Mexico and we were talking about how we've both recently hired angels who are like just helping us run the admin part of our lives. Are you helping with calendar emails too?
I am helping with both, yes. One thing that really, and this is the point I was going to go to next, the one thing that stands out about Manifest versus the other conferences I've been to is it's easier said than done, but the more that, so whether it's Nate or whoever it is, especially if you have an admin, the more you can just filter to them. So he ran into a few people yesterday as an example, and that made me wanted to do a podcast episode while they were here. And he just texted me, "Hey, here's the name, here's the number, here's the email. Get in touch with them. Let's find a time." And just
That's so
do
helpful.
the legwork.
Yeah,
We
because
just get it.
for
to
me,
make
that's
happen.
been so stressful. Like trying to make sure I meet with everyone, coordinate, and trying to, and like, yeah, having that person come with you to a conference is well worth the investment, right? It's an angel. Your North Star is what would you say is like your main mission in your role on the team today?
I mean, my main mission as an admin overall, and definitely in this role, is always to make Nate's life as easy as it can. So taking care of so that he's not getting bogged down in the details that he really doesn't need to. I'm doing that so he can go do I always say the bigger, more important things. The details
He
are
couldn't do
important.
those things. Yeah, it's the honestly,
More.
a lot of times the magic, the art, the highest level of performance is in the small details, right?
Right.
So that is not a position, I think, for to ever be like, doing the more important things. Not at all. You guys it's like a soccer team, right? Where you've got Messi who's passing the ball phenomenally to that goal scorer or like we're in the U.S. Let's make a football analogy. Is a
No, with
lineman.
the World's game, please.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, no world's but yeah, you've got Messi who's passing the ball, and then the person who's scoring the goal, right? The Nate. Nate gets all the credit, all the glory. Yet there's a full team behind, right? Um, and it couldn't be done without everybody on the team. And like one thing that I've been trying to do with our team at Whitestone is inside our team. We don't look, I'm trying to make it so it's not like I'm CEO, I'm founder, and boom. But hey, let's just figure out who's best at what and work together to, as quickly as possible, get to make the 100K MRR goal that we have. And let's just like have better lives and figure out the best path to that. Okay, this person's really good at this, boo, boo, boo. This person likes doing that. And now suddenly inside, we're just a team. We're making it work. But on the outside, yes, I'm the big goal scorer and et cetera, et cetera.
I think so. The more that you can move volume to the people who can execute on the volume is important. So, and the more often you can do that with anything, you look at any organization that's out there. I mean, the way that AI is impacting the industry, it's about allowing your people to do what they do and execute what they do better, faster, etc. That's really what we're doing here too, is it allows us to execute faster. So I need help doing something. Here, let's go. And it just allows us to stay on target. And I mean, someone said to me a long time ago, we needed this particular role in the company, and it's absolutely true. So it's actually if you're starting a company today and you get that $2-3 million mark, that should be a role that the leadership team should be looking at to help support tough. So
I would argue, I would challenge that, and I would say it's the first person. If you're building a company, it's the first person you hire.
I've depended upon what you're doing.
Yeah.
Close. Yes.
Yeah,
So
I see what you're saying.
depending upon what you do. So
Ben, looks like you wanted to add something.
That's something you were asking about. One, you want to talk about the ability of the team. I think Nate can probably speak to that, the history of GLCS. Mentioning, for young people, I think one of the things to do as you're looking at things like this is take a step back. And, I think a lot of your audience, a lot of like very newer people in the industry, first few years, maybe somebody be like a team lead, the first time leading other people, and a lot of them, their peers, right? Kind of figure out what it is that like about this industry is going to matter to you. Ultimately, and I'll say this right to the camera, like slinging freight is not going to do it for you the rest of your life. It is not. It's important. It is a means to an end, but you need to find something a little bit bigger than that. And again, whatever that be, it may not be like you're going to save the world, but like, hey, like I want to create X, Y, or Z, or I want to become a leader of people so I can create a better life for younger people or people that are my peers. So knowing that, I think it's really important. And then finding a voice that is yours. I get asked this question a lot because like I've been very, very lucky. I built a big brand. Nate's built a huge brand as well, both GLCS and himself. And one of the things I think that we have both done very well is we figured out what our voice was. And I think both of us also figured out how to turn the volume up and down that voice. Do you agree with that?
You have,
I mean, mine's usually up
on
higher,
your
but
buddy, you wear towels.
I am a towel guy. Don't forget to bring a towel.
What's that mean though? Finding your voice or like going deeper? I think I know. However, I want to.
Today's podcast is also brought to you by FreightFlex. Ready to take control of your future? Freight agencies are everywhere, but how do you pick the right one? At FreightFlex, we're proud to offer the #1 freight agent program in the nation, backed by an unmatched tech stack and a world-class support team. It's time to ditch the corporate grind and build your own freight agency powerhouse. Take charge, earn what you're worth. Contact us today for a tech demo and see why FreightFlex is where business owners are built.
So I'll speak from my personal experience. I wear a lot of hats. I am a husband. I am a father. I am a grandfather now. I am a lifter. I am a professional. I've been a manager. I've been a sea It's like I've worn all
A
these-
long-bearded warrior.
Yeah, I've been all these things. I'm a son, right? So I have all these different things that are a part of my life. And I look at those things like, what part of that is really different? There's not. Potentially my responsibility is different, but I'm Robert Bank. That's who I am. And so learning that it's not a mass, there's not a different personality for all these different things. I need to be the same person. And one of the things that really crystallized that was not early, but a conversation a few years ago with my daughter who asked me, like, you seem like a different person when you're on work calls than when you're with us. I'm like, that, I mean, punch in the gut from a child, right? And like, I don't want that. I want consistency across that. And so that took me time. And to be very frank, it took me therapy. It took me a lot of different stuff to understand who I was, what I believe in, what I am. And then it's great. Everyone gets that. They get the same person again. It's just at a different volume.
Based on your energy, how you
Yeah.
and the setting, you are different based on the setting, right?
And
In the gym, you're different than
I'm a very different volume in the gym. It's like anybody. Yes. If anybody came to my session yesterday, I was a moderator. I was very, very lucky to be a moderator for one of the manifest panels, and that's a different volume than I am sitting here with all of you. And so I think it's important to do that. And the earlier you can do that, the better. It can be hard. Let's be real. Like if you're watching this, you might be 23, 24 years old. Do that. Like, you know whatever the hell you are. It's important to start looking at that and start to try to understand that. And it will evolve. But again, just knowing how to stay true to it, and then again, just adjust that volume button. Because being fake and being different people, it gets found out real quick, and it's really tough to be like, oh, I'm this great professional, and then they see you face down on the strip.
Yeah. So just actually, I've got the Lion and the Panther on our team, and they are just awesome. Like, love reading and learning. And the Panther, he read a book. He's like a creative soul. He's editing a lot of the videos on this, and he read a book that told him that we can measure. Nikola Tesla said you can measure frequency if you want to understand the secrets of the universe, our universe. Think in frequency, vibration, and energy. And he said that scientists have measured frequencies, and different emotions that we have give off a different frequency. And the like best standard frequency for humans to be in is courage. Like they said, that's like the base, the level. Under that is fear, where I feel like a lot of people are operating from, perhaps, but that's a tangent. But the one that's the highest, take a guess. Love is damn close.
It's not.
It's not. Maybe it is, but I don't know. From what he told me in this book, I haven't read it. And Andrew, if you could put the book up here. The highest is genuine authenticity. Enlightenment, authenticity. Just finding your voice, being your true self. I think love's right under that, if I had to guess.
Because maybe our being.
I mean, you have to love yourself. But if I can't love me, how can I love any one of you? Like, it's going to always be authentic. Yeah, I don't love me.
And I think you have to have love in your heart to find the genuine, authentic
Absolutely.
you.
But listen, I love me.
Yeah, you have to love yourself. You have to love yourself. And that gets misunderstood very often.
It does. It does.
Like,
people hear that, it's very confusing.
Because there's you up here, and then there's you, your body. There's like the soul you and that you. And so what we talked about, like the Brent and the not going out late night, and waking up and getting that morning workout, it's like, I'm taking care of me.
Mhm.
This mind over here is taking care of me,
Mhm.
so that, like, thank you for carrying me through all these conferences, through these conversations, through these diets, and that I think that's interesting.
It is.
So, and to circle through that, not everybody's going to make the same choice that you're making. So some people may choose to go out every night. Some people may choose to go out one night. Some people um, some people are going to make their own path and do their own thing, and they need to own it, and they need to make it their own
Story.
new self,
Mhm.
their own story, which is great. And circling back to the younger crew, the people that are entering the industry, I think finding that path, being that true self. I go back to when I came into the industry, it was the 90s. We were still dispatching on paper. There were some TMSs, but I was dispatching in a card filing system. But really, I mean, we would find every story in the world, trucks breaking down, turbos blowing, whatever, we had every reason to not tell a story or to not be truthful. And you had all kinds of uh, stories, and you had to keep everything, straight in your head. And after years of that, you just start realizing that you need to be straight with everybody, that you need to start figuring out how your life's going to be. And then that rolls up to customer conversations, that rolls up to working with employees, that rolls up into your personal life. I don't swear a lot, so, but I used to. I was a sailor practically. So
I mean, you grew up a trucker. You grew up a driver.
I was a
It-
driver.
for the people that don't know Nate's story, it's incredible. I'm sure there's places you can check it, but we should probably sit down and
Yeah, we can
I-
record it sometime.
yeah.
So
Mm.
it takes 15 minutes to do it. So, but and it's on on our Driving Forward YouTube channel. It's the first thing on there, but I need to actually re-record that because that's when I first started doing online content. So it's kind of old, but
Thank you, Fire Eagle.
but anyway, I used to swear like a sailor. I don't do that, and I don't do that because I could be on the phone with a customer. And I don't know who that customer is. I don't know what their background is. No one's ever gonna be mad at me for not swearing it.
Correct.
But I could offend someone. I could blow a deal. I could have a problem with an employee. I could have it. So I just trained it out of me, and now it just doesn't happen. I'm not offended. This guy doesn't offend me. Sweat. I bet you he swears less right now around me because when I
Yeah.
I don't bet. I know he does.
Yeah.
So just
Yes, I'm upset. That is different.
and just being around me over time, he started less language. So
Yeah.
and same thing with Marie.
Yeah, it's wild, but that's true. They say you become the 5 people you spend the most amount of time with, or the 5 people you let influence you, and it sounds like
And
you guys got it. You
You
got
got one of those.
yeah, you guys have something amazing going. But sorry, maybe not. I'm not even sorry for this. Going back into the sauna, I heard saunaing, another thing, taking care of yourself. Saunaing, even when we talk right now, I've seen science, Andrew, link it up, that shows that us talking, our DNA is being exchanged through that, and we're becoming more like parts,
Sure.
which is, yeah, interesting.
Which, when you hear it just like that, it
It
sounds
sounds
weird.
funky. Yeah, it sounds weird. Yeah,
We're just chilling on the couch exchanging
yeah,
DNA.
Yes. Yeah,
That's weird. But no, I hear what you're saying is that there is an exchange of frequency and vibration, and regardless of what you take from any conversation, part of that does stay with you. It always does.
Yeah.
Um,
But it also makes that in-person meeting versus that FaceTime call.
that is the difference. Yeah, it is.
Absolutely, and that's why I like to do in person. When I get a chance to sit down and do interviews one-on-one, I absolutely take them, and there's a different dynamic when you can do that. And they're more genuine. You get to learn more about the person, just even with the body.
You can say share the DNA. Yeah. 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 I'm fine. Nate, let's go.
Listen, don't forget to bring a towel. Anyway, it's no, that's an important distinction though between the different mediums that we can communicate. I mean, as humans, especially today, we can look out right now and you see hundreds of homes, you see buildings, cells, and
What do you see?
yeah, we see the Trump Tower. It's right out there, and got to do it. But you see all this, and this is all designed as different ways that we communicate with the environment, with the universe, and with ourselves. And again, you've got the homes where this is supposedly where we dissociate from everything. But what do we have in there? We have TVs, we have radio, we have all these things that connect us back to and communicate. So that, I think it's an important thing for folks to think about when it comes to communication. That this face to face, it's the most authentic you can get always.
That's why it's worth coming to
Yes, absolutely. To manifest.
manifest. Manifest. What a name.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, somebody picked it.
Who do you guys know who organized Manifest?
So the original person who I believe it's the brainchild is Dan Reese, and he's I believe he's a vice president, one of them at Connective. Connective is a company that owns Manifest and a series of other conferences. And speaking to Dan, back in 22 at the very first Manifest, I happenstance I got to meet him. He's explaining what the concept and goal behind it was, and this whole Manifest was really about really tried to take technology and all these they really evaded transportation for so long for a variety of reasons. Lack of adoption, lack of understanding, and as we talked about earlier, 80% of trucking and transportation is the same thing. It's very simple. It is that 20%, actually, Nate made a good analogy. It's the 18% that's real hard, and the 2% is essentially impossible. There's so much nuance because either A, everyone thinks they're special, or truly there is a unique piece of it that we can't just get right. And so instead of having technology,
The little details again.
we have manpower that goes into that. And so their idea was that we're going to manifest a technological revolution into the space. And so what they did is instead of allowing the typical, hey, big players, you guys come in, cut the big checks, and put your booths up, you had to be a smaller than $10 million in top line revenue to be able to present. Other than that, you're walking the floor.
Okay.
And it was huge because people were, at some cases, almost offended by it. Like, wait, I can't, they put up my booth and some of my people, no. Come to the show. And so it was a great show. It was awesome. Our friends at Always actually put on the after party, which was ludicrous. Still one of the best concerts I've ever been to. And the next year they opened a little more. And last year they opened a little more. And so it's gotten this exponential growth because people realize it's like, this is actually happening. This manifestation is happening. So now you have somewhere between 6,000 and 8,000 people downstairs, huge expo floor, but also goes back to the roots where these tiny startups that, usually are just a blip on the map are still getting center stage time. They're getting the ability to present themselves and get this audience. So it's the concept was really cool. And obviously the way they do it, not only that, they force the networking, they force you to go make friends, essentially is phenomenal.
Today's Freight Caviar podcast is also brought to you by CloneOps. CloneOps.ai is the AI-powered business communication platform that handles your inbound and outbound calls, texts, and emails all in one place. Freight brokers use CloneOps.ai to automate check calls, confirm orders, collect documents, and streamline back-office ops without missing a beat. You can even customize your AI agents to match your workflows. Always turned on, never stops working. Visit CloneOps.ai and never miss a message again.
And it's supporting entrepreneurs and people's
word of all companies, and I like that. I have no problem researching an established company. There's plenty of documentation, but the new up and coming companies, those are the ones that are hard to get a grasp on. And so being able to come to an organization or a conference like this, where they're all kind of centered, or they're wanting to reach out, and everyone's in one spot, so you can kind of run through them all quickly. In some cases, we're aware of them, so they kind of come to us, and it's nice to have it just boom here. And there are lots of announcements. Just tons and tons of announcements too. So that I think it kind of took over the transportation social media channels for this week. But if you want to make an announcement and you're not here, good luck. You're not going to get much traction.
Doing a towel, that will get traction.
Let's go.
You might want to pull out the towel pick. Just
Yeah, I'll send you guys a towel.
Yes, we'll get that.
you might
Just
It will hit a different
Gabe
demographic. than-
Lion, just reach out to the team. We'll make it happen. Manifesting. What is the team at GLCS manifesting for their for their life, I suppose?
For a big push, so we started as a consultancy. We're a management and technology consultancy. We now identify as a managed IT organization. So we really have been that for quite some time, and we still do all the same services that we've always done. We still help companies select their technology, implement their technology. We still help them work through their processes, and we basically do whatever that they potentially need. But we also help them manage their technology on a day-to-day basis. We can become an IT department. We can augment an IT department. We can manage proprietary technology. So all the TMSs, AMS, the ELDs, any transportation technology that they might have. And that's our big differentiator between, the managed IT firms that you go through down the street. So, that's what we're manifesting, and getting that word out. So lots of times, because we are nationwide, and we are a remote managed IT firm, as is every managed IT firm in your local geographic area. They potentially will come on site if you need them to, but if you sign up with one in your local geographic area, they're going to handle your cases remotely anyway. So.
So who's like the ideal person you guys would help? The ideal team person?
Trucking company or brokerage, typically, we're really trying to impact down markets. If you need technology help, check us out. So we'll be happy to have a phone call with you. If you need technology help of any size,
We can help you out.
yeah, because we work with the top 10. We're in top 10 providers and probably 7 of the top 10 and all over the top 100. So there is no top end issue, but we would really like to get down into the smaller organizations as well. We have lots of them that we work with, but we've largely been thus far 50 million a year plus, and we're trying to push down market and make that effective.
Technology help. We're talking about like AI, or we're talking about TMS systems. We're talking about
On managed IT perspective, it starts in several different areas. So from a consulting standpoint, any and all technology. So we can help look at AI solutions, implement AI solutions, select AI solutions, support them after they're implemented. But from a managed IT perspective, you look at it like, I need somebody to manage by Microsoft environment, so your Exchange, your email, adding on your users, sourcing hardware like laptops, et cetera, just all of your IT that you have today, including maybe you have servers, maybe you have stuff in Azure, maybe you have it AWS, whatever the case may be, you need someone to manage that for you, then we can do that. That extends beyond to phone systems and any and all things. So, and then in addition to that, we can manage through another program underneath our managed services or managed IT group is managing the TMSs and all the proprietary, so ELDs, all transportation software.
So if I'm a young broker working at a company or a dispatcher working at a trucking company, and I notice that we're having not the we have one engine, like one IT guy for 100 trucks and a brokerage.
You need help. You need to call us.
Yeah, and one IT guy's trying to rip his hair out, help everybody with their passwords, with all the. Is that the person?
So that is a persona. We call that Billy the IT guy. Yeah, that's just a persona that we've labeled.
Billy the IT guy.
Billy the IT.
I love that. Okay.
He programmed the CEO's VCR 15 years ago, and here we are.
Oh, that's great.
Billy the IT guy is.
Wait. Can you say that? He programmed the.
He programmed the CEO's VCR like 20 years ago, and so now he's the director of IT.
Oh, that's so great. Okay.
And Billy is probably a very skilled person and has a great, diverse skill set. But he's one person, and he's
Wearing many hats.
wearing a wearing hat.
And people don't realize that because think they like sometimes the CEO of like an older company like that is like, you got the IT guy, figure it all out. Like, yeah.
And trucking technology has gone from 0 to 400 miles an hour in very short period.
Oh yeah.
And we have 5 people that are digging into freight tech and monitoring freight tech. It's nearly a full-time job for me. It's nearly a full-time job for Bane. And then there's a few others that dig into it as well. And a carrier or a broker is not able to put anyone on this full-time. So if you ask a question about what AI solution should I use to optimize my my order bookings or my carrier bookings, what accounting solutions should we be looking at going forward? We're on some sort of integrated process. What TMS software should we select? You're now walking down a road. We currently are tracking 56 TMS software solutions, but there's a lot more. There's probably over 500, but there's 56 that we track today. So
Tracking today. Is that so?
they're viable. Yes.
So if I'm a Billy the IT guy and CEO, and we come ring you guys, what's the easiest way for me to contact you? It's like send a DM to you on Instagram, LinkedIn.
LinkedIn or sales at GLCS.
What do I say? Help?
Yeah,
Yeah.
you're like,
And what's that look like next? Like how quickly?
you get a response almost immediately. During sleep hours.
Usually Susan's by 10 hours.
You got Susan helping out with that?
Director of sales.
Okay.
Susan, they're directly sales. I'm Mike Turner. He's a vice president of sales, and so they'll respond very quickly. On our support team side, once you are established, also very quickly. Our support case response time is extremely fast, usually 10, 15 minutes.
And so then they'll hear out your problem, your situation, which they've heard probably a couple times at least.
We never state that we've heard everything. We've heard a lot of things. We work with thousands of companies, so we've heard a lot of things, but we're never going to make assumption that we've heard everything. So we're going to align on a phone call, listen to the problem. If we have a solution, we're going to present that solution. If we don't have a solution, we're going to tell you where to go. That's the thing with us. Everyone here comes from transportation. We have a lot of people on staff. Everyone has worked in transportation. Combined experience in the industry is astronomical. I think I'm one of the least senior people in almost 20 years. Right.
So calling you guys, worst case, you're just gonna be directed to somebody that could help with your
most
challenge,
or we'll tell you that what you're looking for is impossible. So but that's
worst case. Yeah.
We're like Allstate. We know a lot because we've seen a lot.
So, but you usually get a quick response. I mean, it's rare that anything else would happen.
Okay. And so Billy the IT guy, as a CEO, the most common situation, your favorite situation to solve from there is what? Is Billy supposed to be worried that he's gonna get let go now?
No, Billy. So by no means, they're still unless Billy's doing a poor job. That's a post work. So because we can replace Billy, but Billy's family. Billy's important to.
Absolutely. Billy's probably the one that's going to be working with you guys and not Mr. CEO, right?
And that's a very common situation. So, what you have is if Billy leaves, you maybe have a problem because Billy has a lot of tribal knowledge. He has this awareness of that organization that maybe nobody else has. He might have been in good times. He's built all these things. Billy needs support. Billy needs help on keeping the lights on, that all this new software, all this new technology that's coming in. We can prop Billy up and and Suba do.
Can we go into the details on that? So, this is exciting me. Calendars and how do we do it? How do you do it? How do you manage Nate's calendar and make it easy, smooth, and etc.?
I think the biggest key with calendars is, especially if you have an admin hired to support you, stay out of your own calendar as much as you can. It just makes it a lot simpler if it's easier to streamline it and be more efficient and make sure things are being missed if you put that ownership on your admin personally. I mean, because I've been an admin for 15 years, that's one of the first things you learn is calendars. So trust that we know what we're doing, and kind of that same concept that I talked about earlier where Nate was just giving me enough information to go off of, kind of do that with calendar as well. Not kind of, do it with the calendar. Here's what I need, whatever. Or if I'm in his email, I try to be as self-sufficient as I can. But a lot of it is just a lot of communication. And although we're both in
Between you two.
right, we're both in Minneapolis, we're working remotely, so we're on Teams all day, back and forth. If there is a note of something.
Teams app communicating.
Correct.
And you guys are writing more so than calls. Do you have a time to do like a sync every day? Or where you do a call?
Probably times a week.
Times a week.
Couple eight times a week you do a sync. Okay.
Yeah, I would. Yeah, the calendar is just, it's all communication, but ultimately too, like I said, to keep it where it needs to be, the least amount of hands on it, the better.
And I have a pretty difficult calendar, so
Yeah. So like what's that? Because like your calendar is your North Star. It's your life. Your calendar is how you spend your life.
you know this firsthand, actually. So how difficult I can be to get time in on.
Oh
So,
yeah. It's not easy. It's not easy. You're a busy man. Or run like yes.
yeah, it's usually shifting and moving and
Yeah.
and whatever. So it can be. The week of is hard. So trying to get especially an hour-long block. Some weeks are better than others, but it's ever shifting, and she's always moving stuff around. So on my end, it's a lot of trust. Like I look at my days for the most part the night before. I don't look at them anymore, and I don't even try. A lot of it's just trust on. I'd like this to be in this particular time. Can you make this happen? And the other thing that I think a lot of people in our industry hasn't figured this out yet because they're not used to working with EAs. But a lot of people sort of get offended when you ask someone to get involved, and they shouldn't. So it's
Why
helpful.
they get offended?
It's because they want to work with you directly. So they absolutely want to work.
Other
direct-
people get they don't like that you have to go through Maria to get a meeting with Nate,
Right.
or that you have to go through Lion to get a meeting with me.
Yeah. And it's not that you don't want to have the meeting.
Yeah.
It's that we want to have an optimal one that is, this saves me an hour plus a day, maybe more. And Maria also manages all my emails. So, which is a huge trust thing. That was a big, had that
Response.
conversation.
She's in your email as Nate Johnson, right?
Yes.
Ditto. Lion's in my email as Tom, and he just writes, hey, this is Gabriel, I got to this before.
She doesn't respond as me, but she can see.
You read it, and then you write the email response?
Yeah.
Got it. For me, I have Lion just completely running my, and like our meeting got booked via Lion and Maria.
Correct.
Well, maybe not.
No, she booked
Yeah.
it. She'll respond via
I was
herself.
surprised last night. I checked like late last night. I'm meeting with Nate today. Let's fucking go. And it's the best thing in the world.
Yeah.
I told Lion like a while ago I want to meet with Nate,
Yeah.
Boom, made it.
Yep. So no, and as the conference was going on, there was things popping up, and that actually is going to be a change to the conference strategy going forward. It's one of the reasons why it's not the bigger conference, it's when I'm at a more active conference, is having Maria there's important to me because, broker carrier summit's another one that I just get slammed at.
Mhm.
And so going forward, there'll be a different strategy at that one where at Manifest going forward next year, I'm not chasing people anymore. It'll be a meeting room or a suite like this,
Ditto.
and people can come here because
Ditto.
and we will stack meetings. I was at dinner last night. One of the gentlemen at our table had 115 meetings here.
I believe so.
He sat at a table stood at a table for 3 days taking 15-minute meetings. That sounds horrible to me. So, more power to them. Yeah. So, and I've done that before at other conferences where, we've had our sales team there and we had 7, 8 people where we're trying to do this a little bit more impactful and using Maria's skill set, I think we can be very optimal. So
I love that. In the calendar, do you have time blocks also for like when you're able to, when Maria knows to schedule certain like for us, for example, I've created like an ideal calendar for me, and I'm like, okay, between 1 p.m. and 5 p.m. is when we can try to book people for meetings during my days. Tuesdays and Thursdays are better days. Mondays, Tuesdays, Thursdays are better days to do meetings, and try to keep the morning for like deeper work, gym, and our syncing. Me and my EA syncing. Then
We have some of that.
and my direct.
Yeah, we have some of it like the ideal world scenario kind of fainted out. Nate has, blocks in the morning for certain things, or if it's my job obviously to be proactive and look forward to and see, hey, this is going on. He's got a lunch that he planned. That's great, but there's no drive time here or there. And yeah, you can take calls in a car, but it's not ideal. And so trying to always be mindful of those things while remembering this block means this, or he has to pick up his kids at this time, or a lot of that it's honestly just in my head because I've done the job long enough.
Yeah.
So back to your question, we have that, but it also ebbs and flows depending on what's going
You
on.
have to be very flexible,
Yes.
right?
It's not like it's not super firm.
Yeah.
Some things are, but most just depends on if we're at Manifest or if we're back home in Minneapolis and it's whatever's going on.
So beautiful. So beautiful. It is like Michael Jordan and Scottie Pippen, I think. And I think once you guys get it perfected, then oh my God, like, and that's the thing. It's like hard at first, messy in the middle, and in the end, it's gonna be gorgeous. They're probably already is. So next year at Manifest, we're gonna do this and this differently, so that we're even more optimal. We're even
Right.
yeah.
The one thing I noticed with Manifest too is, so you'll have someone like Nate where there's all these people coming at you, but they're not just coming at you when you're walking down the hallway. It's text, it's phone, it's email, it's the app, it's LinkedIn. There's so many places. So I guess I would say if you have an admin, definitely be funneling as much as you can to them and like let them do the legwork. But if you don't have somebody to do that for you, do as it's, again, easier said than done, especially if you're in the middle of the chaos of it. Do your absolute best to try to, I'm going to forward this over to my email just so you have everything in one place. 'Cause I feel like that is where the
train people to go into your email. Yeah.
Yeah, and again, like I said, perfect world scenario, but when you have one place to go versus, oh, I ran into so and so in the hallway and shoot, I know I got this info from them, but I don't know where I put it. So if you can maybe putting it in one place, it, I feel like my brain always goes to streamline, and streamline everything as much as you can. I think that's where people get lost in the shuffle.
Yes.
Just trying to do too much.
Streamline, and that's like another way of saying simplify.
Simplify.
But also think about it, like having like little things like that. People don't think about it because they come to a conference like this. I'm just focused on the sales, or whatever. And it's like, oh, the little details again are the magic, If you can simplify that, you'll be more effective at everything else.
Absolutely. Yeah, we were trying to unravel a meeting that we supposedly missed, and I think I finally unraveled it. But there are however many apps that you're communicating through, and at this particular conference, all of them lit up, and it's absolutely crazy. And then on top of that, the Manifest app, which I somewhat appreciate until we start scheduling meetings that don't always link entirely correctly with your calendar, and so that became a mess. So
Yeah.
all said and done, there's a lot of that's exactly it. Yeah, absolutely. So if you're trying to do the impossible by yourself, you are not going to win.
You're gonna be overwhelmed, frantic, and like get the most out of it.
Yeah. So it was it was a very busy couple of days.
Yeah. I love it. I love it. Okay, thank you for the gold nuggets on bombs, and I would love to like return to
Yeah,
do this
absolutely.
like after
Anytime.
the next time,
Yeah, sure.
because I think that's so valuable. One of the most valuable things for people that are building businesses and lives and etc. on so many fronts. And like I want to give it more time, but I also want to give Billy the
Billy IT
IT
got another run. So sure.
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely.
So Billy, he now has a call with you guys. There's Mr. CO and Billy Do. You guys identified the challenge. What's like the most common challenge that 100 truck company with a brokerage is going to be facing, and just Billy.
Well, over the last few years, it's been a lot of TMS shifting. So, that's been happening a lot. Whether it's the asset-based company or a brokerage or a trucking company with a brokerage, lots of TMS discussions, lots of technology just going wider, faster, not able to understand it, a lot of over expenditures. Billy is just overwhelmed, and that's most of the time what those discussions are about. In some cases, Billy may be retiring or looking to retire in the next few years, and they're wanting to look at other options. 10 years ago, it was ELDs, and looking at ELD solutions for the asset-based carriers. So electronic logging devices were a big push, and that's not as often now, but it's still and helping with guidance with that. So, but today it's largely, we have
So
TMSs.
if I can try to make it even more real, Billy, and the team, they just switched from an old software that everyone knows
Right.
to a software that's a little bit newer. One of the TMS, or many TMSs that are out there today. They made the switch. And what else might Billy be? He's like,
Sure.
I've got the passwords. I've got all these teams. I've got all these IT challenges on a day to day. Well, how else did you? It almost seems like you guys might be helping with systems and also piece.
Right. Absolutely. Yeah.
That-
So let's say you do go to a modern TMS. That TMS is equipped to handle quite a bit, and the modern TMSs are really strong. Most of them have really strong teams, but they only go so far. They represent themselves very well, and they represent their customers very well. They're good solutions, but they connect to so many other solutions as well. And sometimes you need that organization or that partner that is unbiased. So that's just simply there to represent you, the carrier, the broker, that's not worried about all the other solutions. So you need to plug in other integrations. Maybe they exist, maybe they don't. What other solutions are out there that can plug in? So you've gone from the Fiat to the Ferrari, and you don't know how to drive it. So you're getting guidance from the TMS potentially on how to drive it, but you still have a Ferrari. And are you going to just take the line on one of them, or are you just going to take the advice from one person, or do you want it from an organization that's working with 300 fleets on a monthly basis? So we can help support that. We can do all the ancillary products around it as well. And
that means like programming within your TMS a button that will post to different load boards.
potentially, yeah, that would be or we know the solutions that could potentially plug in to do that. And is there already an integration, or do we need to build one? And if we need to build one, we can build one. So those are the questions that can be asked and answered in typically a phone call or two. So
It sounds like TMS challenges are the best people to. If you're having TMS challenges, that's the best person to call you.
It's
You're the
certainly
best person to call.
certainly well, you think about a transportation organization, brokerage or trucking company, their entire world revolves around the TMS. So that's certainly one of the pieces. But you need somebody to manage your hardware. We're with that too.
Managing hardware.
So laptops, desktops. So brokerages, lots of brokerages in COVID went remote. They're not working at offices anymore. We talked to a brokerage recently. There are 150 people, and they are literally, they have a closet full of laptops that they're not really managing, and when they hire somebody new, it actually, I think they're getting new laptops. They're not even managing their laptops in the closet. So, we will manage your hardware for you. We will source it for you. We will take in the old. We will repurpose it and then send it out to new people. We will, and this is all in a program. And if we have to go purchase new ones, we build a program with you to do that. There's a lot to be discussed around that, but monitors, keyboards, laptops, desktops, servers, etc. All of that can be done. We effectively are just trying to take the headache of managing all your technology off of you, so you can move freight.
Okay. So you're the entire IT department.
We can be, yes.
So say you're onboarding new people and you need to create new accounts for them. Email, bing, all those
All of it.
platforms.
Yeah.
You guys have a team that goes to set that all up. As soon as we just make one call, yeah, we'll set it all up.
You don't even have to make a call. You just send an email. Happens.
Okay.
So yeah, there's other ways to do that too. If you have an
And
HR
how
system.
quickly can that happen to create everything for a new person? A TMS account, a email account, blah, blah, blah.
That obviously depends upon how complex your solutions are, but it'll happen very quick. I mean, within
one day.
definitely within 1 day. So if you have a couple solutions, it could happen within a couple hours. So terminations can happen very, very quick too. So yeah, well, I mean, if you're letting somebody go and you need to lock them out of a system, so we can make that happen really quick too. So but we're hyper responsive. So once again, what I was saying before is everybody's from transportation, so we respond as an IT organization. We respond like we're from trucking, we're from logistics,
Because you are.
because we are. So when someone reaches out and says, "Hey, I need information on a load," we all jump to that. If you're moving freight, you respond to that super fast. When you reach out to a technology organization, you sit on hold for 2 hours. So we don't have that environment. We absolutely don't. Now, sometimes we can't fix a problem within 15 minutes, but we're going to respond back to you very quickly and communicate like you would want to have your load tracked.
So what's like the biggest problem? I imagine my TMS is not freaking as slow as heck. Well, we can't book loads or something like that, right?
Connectivity issues sometimes. It really varies. I mean, CrowdStrike was a big thing. That was that outage that happened last summer where Delta got taken. Delta got taken down, and so that
And affected transportation.
that affected everybody. That was the largest outage I think we've had across the board. So there was
living in DePorest.
yeah, fair enough. Well, I see pictures. Yeah, man. So so there was airlines were down, everybody's flights were canceled. TMSs, I mean, there was a TMS provider that had like 18,000 users down, so for 3 days. So all of our systems that we support were up by noon on Friday. CrowdStrike, I think, went down Thursday night. So all of our systems were up and running a few hours. Actually, it was Friday morning that everything was down. So we were down about 4 hours. So
Nice, not nice. But not,
that was very fast.
than a lot.
It was-
right?
it
You're
was-
quick to react.
It was as good as anyone out there that I know of. Almost everyone that responded fast was in that 4-hour window. And then there were some people that were down as long as a week. So, but most people were, the fast responders were 4 hours or less. And then there was a few people that were down a day or two. And then there was some, like Delta, struggled for a long time. So, but I mean, you have cybersecurity, you have freight fraud, you have other things that are going on that are really just cyber attacks, and we want to. Why we're not a cybersecurity firm, we are aware of those things, so we're building in practices to protect you. We do training around that. So what are the most common the tickets that we have? They're going to be around processes, around issues, around, I mean, it's going to vary based upon a role. They're honestly mostly random issues with I'm clicking a button and it's not doing what it's supposed to do. So, but it's going to be something along that lines. This isn't working the way it's supposed to. So,
I love how you touched on cybersecurity there and how that's becoming a growing. Is it becoming a growing thing?
yeah, it's over a
Or-
$10 trillion global issue.
It's a
So
$10 trillion global issue.
It's
Nobody really
the
talks about it
third
in our
largest GDP in the world.
third largest GDP in the world. That's how big this is.
That's how big it is.
No one talks about it because no one wants to know that.
It's literally that size of a problem. That's cybersecurity, not freight fraud. So freight fraud is about I think they're pacing $2 billion issue. But freight fraud is certainly a component of cybersecurity outside of like hijacking. So that
physical stealing
right.
truck
Yeah,
or load.
but I relate that because they're getting data typically, unless they're literally just hijacking a truck on the road. But a lot of times the hijacking has something to do with getting digital information to find the load that they want. So,
Okay.
but yeah, cybersecurity is a problem.
And it's something that you're definitely thinking about, and you're training your teams. And
Right, and the NMFDA has a great cybersecurity team on it, and they're championing this. We're a big supporter of them.
what's their name?
NMFDA.
NMFDA.
So I'll shoot you the link on that so you guys can pop
Yeah,
that up.
please.
So
Boom.
yeah.
Here.
So they have a cybersecurity task force, and I just had them on our podcast a couple weeks ago. I'm doing a cybersecurity track almost every month along with freight fraud. So I'm tying the two together. So is Grace. So we're tying the two together as much as we can. And just because freight fraud needs more of a light on it, but if you tie it to cybersecurity or cyber crime, one's a $10 trillion problem. And when you run it up against the third largest, it's U.S., China, cybercrime.
U.S.
So-
China cybercrime. Cybercrime, is that in the logistics trucking industry? There's freight fraud, freight fraud is like
bad actors,
double broke.
double brokering, acting as a carrier, and then showing up with a truck that's not theirs and stealing a load. But absolutely double brokering, and but largely I'd say the largest offender is the load theft. So
Copy that. And then cyber security crimes and logistics, not
right.
freight fraud.
So like a cyber crime is credit card theft, people getting your information and using it for nefarious purposes, like they'll clean your bank account out, somebody asking for money, older people, there's people that will act like they're a member of the opposite sex and get you to give them money. So that's a very common practice. And so there's all kinds of ways to lose money through various cybercrime. So
I hear it, and it's such a big GDP, but I haven't seen it happening. Or I don't know if it's happening. Do you see it happening with the people you're talking to and stuff? Like, you don't.
there's tons of stories out there. Yeah, I mean it's absolutely happening, and it's just I think you'd have to dig into the demographic. I think once again it's the people that you're surrounded by. Certainly a credit card. I mean, I've known people that have had their credit card hit, so that can happen anywhere. I mean, you swipe it in the wrong spot, and I think the credit card companies are getting better at identifying strange behavior. So I have stuff on most of my credit cards where if I suddenly appear in a state that I'm not, so they kind of know where you're at, and if all of a sudden you're somewhere in a strange location, they'll just hit me with a text. They'll stop that and say, hey, we're not approving this, or I'll get a text message saying, should we approve this? So those that's some technology that's
I
great.
heard stories where like big carriers have gotten their TMS hacked, password changed or something.
Yeah, so there's been a lot of that, and transportation is actually one of the more targeted industries for cybercrime.
It's a cybercrime. Right.
Correct, and then so they'll get hacked and they'll get ransomwared, And so you'll have to pay them off. So, or you'll get the FBI in, or you don't, and then you don't get access back to your database. Or you'll have to have some sort of backup that you'll roll into. And, unfortunately, we've had to, or we have worked with many organizations that have been involved in that situation. They're typically not customers of ours, and then they call us and they become customers of ours. We help them navigate through those situations. We are, once again, not cybercrime experts or cybersecurity experts, but we help those people kind of rebuild their situation.
Somebody,
So,
Alex Prelas, who does that, and
yeah, so what they would call us for is to help rebuild that TMS. So we would build the tech stack back up, and we've done that a whole bunch of times. So what usually happens to rebuild it or put Humpty Dumpty back together again. So it is, what ends up happening is whether they pay it or not, there's a way to usually bring it back up, and there's the right way and the wrong way. And usually if it's one of the TMSs that we're really strong with, we can shave days or weeks of time off of that rebuild.
Humpty Dumpty, putting it back together. Like, I love that visualization. And for people that don't know who Humpty Dumpty is, the egg.
He's the egg guy that falls off yeah, absolutely.
And so putting him back together, that means if your TMS got hacked, you lost all the history of your loads, you lost your
forever,
receipts,
all your accounting data potentially.
or your accounting history.
Yeah.
With like, how do you do taxes after that?
How do you dispatch your trucks right now? Or that's the scary one. So, a carrier, depending upon your length of haul. So let's say you have a 550-mile length of haul. So you have 1 day, or potentially less. You probably have 4 to 8 hours until you're going to be severely impacted if something shuts your technology down. So you have effectively all your trucks are moving. And let's say your trucks operate at a cost of, or at a revenue of $150 an hour or something like that. So if all of a sudden your trucks cannot be dispatched and you have 100 trucks, you have $150 an hour, we'll start doing the math on that. And this gets very, very expensive once you hit day 2. So we've had 1,000 truck fleets, unable to dispatch. Now you get into scenarios where you do have some data, some of it's sitting in ELDs, where you have some dispatch data sitting out there, so that because they're dispatching ahead, you've got some range to be able to run on for a little bit. But you have all that accounting data sitting in there. You have stuff that's billed out to customers. Maybe it hasn't, some TMSs are not accounting packages. Most of them have some sort of accounting system that sits adjacent to the TMS. And that doesn't actually get passed over to the accounting system until after you deliver the load. So all of that, or after you bill the load. So you're waiting for that paperwork to come in. So all of that unbilled data is still sitting there. All of that operational data is still sitting in there, and it's scary. I mean, you can have some a trucking company owner, a brokerage owner could be sitting there looking at a scenario where they're going to lose their business. Yeah, absolutely. And the average cybercrime or ransomware attack could lock up that system for 3 weeks.
Terrifying. And that's because you have to negotiate with them.
That's opening it up and rebuilding. It's just the average. So if you pay the ransomware, maybe you'll get in, or maybe you won't.
Got it. That's the quickest way.
That's the quickest way.
And you never know if these people are honoring their word after you paid them. So it's like, that's why the U.S. says they don't.
Right. But to be honest with you, ransomware these days has become a lower price point. So what used to be a $5 million or $3 million, $1 million, $500,000 ransomware is now $50,000, $5,000.
Ransomware means
they're holding your data hostage. They're holding your data as a ransom. So and on a personal level, they'll do ransoms on data now too, and we're seeing those type of things at $500 and $5,000 dollar price points. It's crazy. So, but it's now become cybercrime as a service.
Man,
so you literally have shops of people that show up for work and do cybercrime now.
Protecting against it, or
No, doing it.
but in the U.S.
No.
Yeah.
So,
Well, not that we know of.
well, yeah, that's true. So, I mean, well, probably.
Yeah.
So, probably. Actually, I think there was one that was just busted not that long ago. So I'm sure it's in the U.S., but it's largely, I mean, I know of several that have been talked about in Europe.
Man,
So,
you know, as you were talking about that, like I just had this moment of just visualizing, like we talk about simplifying, I think a little bit, right?
Right.
And like, uh, we're all heading boom so rapidly into tech, into AI and everything, and the threats of cyber threat. And you build this entire company, and if that kind of happens, you can still rebuild and come back from it. However, I'm like wondering if there's like an opportunity for businesses that are like, hey, we're like old school non-tech. Like we're an old
Yeah.
school trucking company that we have no
Well-
risk of that. We're gonna be slower. We're gonna be harder to work with, but there
there's,
is none of this threat. I don't know. Like I haven't thought through that. Obviously,
yeah,
like,
I don't think
but
so anymore. No, because the customers have demands, and those demands require technology, and you have the visibility required and the EDI requirements, and just the trucks alone have so much tech.
Be an old school
Yeah,
trucking company.
I don't think you could do it, and you have
Can't
the
go paper
cost.
logs.
Yeah, you can't go paper logs, and the economies of scale on the people are just not possible. So I mean, 10 trucks is a difficult number to run, and 20 trucks, 30 trucks, 50. So basically, you'd need to be to make it a real trucking company. You need to be at like 50 trucks, and to try to run 50 trucks effectively and cost effectively, you're gonna have to have technology. There's just no way. So,
Times have changed.
yeah,
What we're saying.
absolutely. So,
What a world, what a life. I'm so in love. The puzzles, the challenges,
yeah.
the complexities.
Oh, what do you got next?
We have Highway. With Highway and
Michael King, is he here or is he not?
meeting with Bo and Grace.
Okay.
Muck Grace.
So,
Yeah. But also had a little bit of a hiccup. Like we talked about with the difficulty of manifest. Like thought we could do a gondola pod. Hop on. No, that's the love for you. And so we had to just whip something together on the run and do a little talk with it's been fun. Just kind of load bounced and we just recovered as best we could. It's funny what happened. Yeah, it's been fun.
cool.
Anything else you guys want to add? Say to like young people or
I think to the people just entering the industry, if you like we were talking earlier, this industry has a tendency to
drain your soul.
well, if it doesn't do that, it might do that and give you it creates a heck of a journey. It creates a heck of a path, and I'm trying to build the words. I know you guys are going to edit it.
That probably drains.
So yeah, that's probably it. So I said it so eloquently the other day, and you know how when you do it once, you just can't do it again. And I was trying to pull those exact words back out, and I can't. But it really does build character, and I think you spend a little time in the industry, and as time goes on, Bain said it earlier. If you're going to spend a 20 or 30 year career just moving freight, you probably, I mean, more power to you. I probably disagree with him on that. I mean, you can do that if you want to, but there's a lot of opportunity in this industry. I was talking to someone who was very new to the industry on the technology side yesterday, and had this type of a discussion. This industry is very cutting edge today, as much as a lot of people don't think that it is.
Just a moment ago, we were saying it's a dinosaur.
It was.
It's crazy how fast you could go from dinosaur to extinction just with an asteroid.
It was. Yeah, absolutely. So one asteroid, that's it. So boom. But we were talking earlier where 80% of what we do is fairly static. A lot of the people do it the exact same way. 18% is difficult. 2% is nearly impossible. And I used to say trucking isn't rocket science. We now employ rocket scientists in transportation and logistics. So, and they're mostly on the optimization side, but we have very complex processes. We have very complex data. We have very complex needs. And you look at the data points that we're tracking and dealing with on a day-to-day basis, and it is absolutely wild. We've gone from 20 or 30 data points back in the 90s to thousands every couple of seconds. And that's just crazy. So
Speaking of GDPs and the biggest economies, logistics is one of the biggest, like, it's like
depending on how you slice it, it is the largest.
Bigger than like, yeah.
Logistics is, I think, the largest if you add in airlines, ocean, trucking.
Bigger than food.
I don't know about,
Yeah.
well, I think it depends on how you slice it. Depending upon how you slice it. Like if you add like healthcare, how are you going to add it at, I mean, if you add in, I'm sure however you slice it, yeah, I don't know.
Healthcare.
Depending upon how you slice it, but trucking's big. But if you add in, I mean, if you add in supply chain, it's like 43 million people in the U.S.
It's the second most popular job after teacher, I believe. I read that somewhere.
Wow. Supply chain.
All types of teacher.
I think it's the largest employment base in the U.S. So it's supply chain. So, and there's 3.3 million drivers out of that, which is 1% of the population. So something like that.
Also difficult, full of opportunities.
Absolutely.
Hope you like that one. If you have any questions, comments, leave them below. Feedback. We're always looking to improve and make things better. Break out your out.